Good afternoon, good evening, good night, or good morning, wherever you may be. We thank you once again for joining us today, where we want to look at a day in the life of a cybersecurity professional. Today, we want to look at SOC analysis. So we have a SOC analyst with us here today, which I can say is a professional. I call him my Oga, but he doesn't want to accept. But if you don't know what Oga means, he's my boss when it comes to this. And that is why you can see he's here talking to us. He's going to talk to us rather about a day in the life of a cyber security professional, specifically on SOC analysis. SOC analysis means Security Operations Center. If you have seen the police before, the way they have their war room, or you see their cameras everywhere where they monitor them in their offices, or perhaps you've seen or you've worked in physical security environment, you see people looking at different cameras. In this case, they have different screens they are looking at. And on these screens, they have different things they are monitoring per screen they are looking at. So which means it's something that you must be very, very, very at alert. If they miss anything, it can lead to several problems because they are the first place where we say they declare incidents. Incident could be anything at all. Could be phishing attack. It could be somebody mistakenly shut down a critical server, or, I don't want to go into his work, but they have different areas. They talk about P1, P2, P3, P4, P5. So that's priority. The P's there means priority. But today, he's going to talk to us about that, and keep your questions coming. You can put them in the chat box. I'll look after that and then let him know. He can see it himself. And as we do, as usual, we'll take the questions as they come. So if you have not seen the poster before, that's the poster, and that's our speaker today, Clifford Edeberry, is going to be the one leading us today. And this is our second episode on a day in the life of a cybersecurity professional, specifically SOC analysis today that I mentioned. So we welcome you all today once again, and I'll hand over the reign to Clifford, who is going to be taking care of the topic for today. So please keep your questions into the chat box. We'll run through them, and then let's give him the reign to make his presentation. My boss, the reign is yours. Take over, sir.
Thank you, boss. Thank you very much. Good evening, all. Thanks for the opportunity. Welcome to this session. It's a pleasure to always join in and contribute to the community. So as my boss has introduced me, I'm his product. We're here today. I've been given the opportunity today to share what I've learned from this school that he has managed. So I welcome you all. I'm going to attempt to present a draft of my slide. So it's just a basic one. So this slide will take us through the journey, what I basically do every day. So I believe this platform basically is not like any other training platform where you have to read from slide. It's very practical. So I'm going to do my best to take you through the journey, like how it is. So it's not reading from a slide, but it's going to be practical experience of what I do every day, or what the SOC analyst does every day. So I'm attempting to share my screen now. Don't know if you can see anything on the screen yet.
Not okay. It's coming.
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Good. So I'll start by saying that as a SOC analyst, you are protecting the boundaries of the organization, basically the digital boundary of the organization. So the role of a SOC analyst is very, very, very key to the organization. So, and as a SOC analyst, you have to see it that way. So it's very important to the organization. So as we all know, I won't spend much time on what is a SOC. The basic thing is that the SOC, you're one of the, let me put it in a layman language, you're the police, basically the front line of security in the organization to monitor everything that goes on. In the network wise, everything basically on the space of in the estate of the organization. So you have to monitor. Apart from monitoring, you detect in collaboration with the tools, the monitoring tools. They help you detect, but when they detect, as a SOC analyst, it's your responsibility to help the response process and also actively participate to mitigate the security threat that is ever changing against various organizations. Who is a cybersecurity analyst, a SOC analyst? So for that, its basic definition, you are just a professional who is responsible for monitoring systems and responding to potential security incidents. So going to key responsibilities of a SOC analyst, you monitor alerts. And how do we do this? From here on, I'm going to basically start talking about the day. So as a SOC analyst, you are required to work various shifts. So some SOC departments are set up as a 24 hours response team. So you should be ready to work different times of the day in that role. So basically, when you jump onto your computer at any point in time, what happens is that you log on, obviously, and you immediately jump into a handover meeting or a brief meeting. So at that point, you are told, you are briefed, you're briefed on what has happened in the previous shift by the SOC analyst who worked in that shift. Then you take notes. A note is drafted or sent out to the team to give you an insight to what has happened during their shift. So that is the start of the day for a SOC analyst, and that handover meeting and handover note is very key to keep you abreast, to keep you in the same page with the team you've just relieved. So at that point, you're now ready to start your day. Basically, you've been briefed. So from there on, you start what you have been brought in as a SOC analyst to do, to start monitoring alerts. And this monitoring is done on various tools, which is called SIEMs, and they track unusual behaviors on the system, on the network, on the estate. So there are various types that you see, normal logon, DDoS, and all that. So when these alerts come in, you will be expected to look at them. First, you have to assign them in the order of their priority. There's a P1, there's a P2, there's a P3, P4, and just also there are some that are just for your information only. Most of them might have been mitigated by the tools, or they're just to let you know that something has happened. So once you've received these alerts and you group them in terms of priority, and some SIEMs have been configured to also brief, class these alerts as they come into the different classes I've just mentioned. So, and as a SOC analyst in practice, you should first attend to the critical alerts, which are grouped as P1, P2, P3, and before you go on to the just the normal alerts that are not critical. So, and to chip in here, as a SOC analyst, what is required of you is for you to be curious. Part of the experience, if you work as a SOC analyst, you do not take anything for face value or granted. So anything that comes across your way, you have to be critical in your thinking, and you have to follow a process investigating these alerts. Or when it becomes an incident, you have to be critical. You have to be very attentive. You have to be very detailed. I mean, take down notes. So curiosity is a key skills, is a key attribute that a SOC analyst should have to be a success in this role. So so once these alerts come in, you are analyzing suspicious activities. Suspicious activities are any events that deviate from the norm. So if you find somebody, to the basic, if you find somebody who works in London 9 to 5, logging in from Manchester after 5 p.m., 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. After 5 p.m., they are logging in from Manchester is suspicious. So you still have to investigate it. That's the basic example. And during investigation, you have to take down notes, documentation, in order to have a record of what you've done. So that's basically what a SOC analyst is expected to do. So you assume a breach already once you start your duty. So you are on alert, ready to respond if anything abnormal is detected by the SIEM. That's the tool that is monitoring the network and the system. So your role there is to keep your eyes peeled to the screen, making sure that everything that comes in as an alert is looked at in detail and recorded, and then closed or resolved with the right information, that if anybody reads your note, they would be able to understand what you've done. So it is key, as we are here, it is very key that if you're looking to get into SOC, the thing that will make you a winner in that role is to detail every step you've taken to during your investigation. Have you looked at VirusTotal? Did you check the IP there? Did you check the URL there? If yes, copy that link, put it there that you've checked IP address is malicious, it's not malicious. Just put the information there. How do you do this? You can actually put your notes on a notepad while you're conducting your investigation. Put everything in your notepad in sequence as you're doing it. And once you've done it, you can add them to the note, the alert note, to update it. So that's basically what we do daily. So I'm also going to just open another page. Okay. For instance, I'll describe an alert that comes in during your shift, and you need to look at it. Let's take this DDoS alert that has been triggered by your tool, for instance, Akamai. So these are notes that, as a SOC analyst as well, when you start any role as a SOC analyst anywhere. During the induction, some of them will be fast-paced or slow. It takes time to get used to the environment. Please remember to take down notes, steps, and various information will be passed to you. So action steps required to investigate various alerts will be made available to you. So remember to take these notes down. Create your own Bible on how these things are done, because there will be like a team knowledge base which have all these things, but the quick access for you is to be able to reach out to this information when the alert is the alert board, and you can run through the steps. So for instance, you get a DDoS alert and you open the SIEM. For those who are new, who intend to take a role as a SOC analyst, the good thing is that, listen, the various tools, they currently are at a stage where they basically do 80% of the job for you. So everything listed here, every step listed here, most of them are configured on the monitoring tools. So as soon as you get the alert and you click on the drop-down button option, you're going to see information against everything I've listed here. The targeted domain, the attack type will be described, action taken by the monitoring tool already, connecting IP address, source IP address, the owner of the device or domain that everything, the traffic is trying to overflow. So you will have all these things. So don't be overwhelmed that like, how am I going to search for this information? No, they are already there. All you need to do is to know how to navigate your way around these tools. And I'll digress a bit. How do you learn how to use these tools? I would say to you, there are standard tools that is available to SOC analysts. And most of these organizations do sign up to these tools from different suppliers. And there are videos available on YouTube to access training, free training for these tools. So you can easily go in there and train yourself. Some of these videos are just 30 minutes and an hour max, and you'll be able to do that. So going forward, once you're able to navigate your way around these tools, you start to pick up information to start your investigation. So for instance, you know the owner of the host that or device that this traffic is hitting. So you put that down. Then you are privileged to use open source intelligence technology or tools. VirusTotal is there, Abuse IP, and others that are in the open. So you're checking IP addresses, you're checking domains, you're checking URLs. So these are the sort of things you do. And once you've checked this, you also check if the tool has actually mitigated this attempt, or is it still ongoing? Now, if it has mitigated it, you still have the duty to investigate the IP, the domain where it's coming from. So I'll come to that. So you're not documenting all this. So at this point, you've gathered your information. Now, as a SOC analyst, you do not work, or a SOC team, you do not work in isolation. You also collaborate with other teams. So the network team, the identity team, and other, the perimeter teams, depending on how they are named in various organizations. So when you receive an alert and you've gathered information, your investigation. It's still your duty as a SOC analyst to let the relevant team know that you have received this alert as a team, you've investigated, you just want to let them know to also check if there's any impact anywhere. So as a SOC analyst, you also interact with basically every aspect of technology in your organization. So that's just an isolated, that's one sort of alert you will get. There are other alerts that will come in. For instance, if you're using Sentinel, there'll be cases where you have to investigate abnormal login, for instance, if I go into that. So this kind of note I will have in front of me. You need to go to the Sentinel portal, click on the alert, open the specific alert, the drop-down button is there. Also, I will reiterate, don't be scared. Don't be scared that, oh, wow, how do I know all this? No, it's no magic. These things are there. You'll be taken aback how simple it is to navigate these tools if you put in a bit of time to study this tool. And in order to also reinforce your understanding of the various things you find on this platform, this same platform, is key to go on setting training to know the principle, the framework behind them. So that for these tools, easy to understand. So another case, you've just received an alert, abnormal signing. What do you do? For anybody, your curiosity should build up as you work in SOC. It becomes natural to you. It becomes, basic example is somebody who has signed up, who was registered with you to be in, for instance, London, and you suddenly find them logging on from New York. So that should raise a flag. So what do? You gather information about the account that is involved. If this account is an individual, then you address it as an individual. If it's a shared mailbox, you have to find the owner. How do you find the owner? You go to Entra. You just type in the address. So when these accounts are set up, they have the relevant information. Who owns it, for instance, if it's a shared mailbox. So you then look at the location. And in the last 7 days, where have they signed in from? They have signed in from London. Then in the last 2 hours, they've been signing in from New York. Then it raises a flag. Then you go on to pick the IP address they are signing in from. And there's a likelihood, if it is not the individual signing on, the IP address would have been reported a few times about malicious activities. And you check this on, you can check it on Abuse IP, Virus Total, and various other tools. And relating to these tools, you can also find them by Googling. So they are there for you to use. So these are the kind of things you meet every day. You investigate, check open sourcing tools. If these indicators of compromise are actually their intents are malicious towards the account or your organizations, and you ask yourself questions. First, was the attempt to log on successful? What application was used? So this is how detailed as a SOC analyst has become. There's more requirements on you now to investigate, to be able to give more information, to justify or infer your conclusion. That's your resolution. If you're called upon to brief a meeting, an incident response meeting, your notes should speak for you because you've done the work. You check all the information required up to device information, and the device that they logged onto, was it AD registered? All sorts of things. What sort of browser did they use? What sort of OS did they use? Did they authenticate? Was MFA successfully completed? Was it what sort of sign-in activity? So these are all your investigation steps, right? Now you've gathered all this information. This alert comes in. So this is what you do basically as a SOC analyst, and you are drafting this note. Is it 7-hour shift, 12-hour shift? So this is how it goes on and on. And then you then ask, if this is true positive, what do you do? When I mean true positive, it's actually an attack. So at that point, an incident response will kick into place. You have to respond to this incident. And with this note, you're already halfway there. As SOC analyst, you observe an incident. For every shift, there is a senior who will be leading the team. You need to then inform the lead SOC or senior SOC analyst of your findings, and you then start an incident response meeting. Your team at SOC, you are in, identity is in, perimeter is in. At this point, you are sharing the information you need. For instance, with this one, once it's confirmed, you have to contain the host, disable the account for a start, email the service desk if you do not have the permission, depending on how the organization, to reset MFA. So in practice, why would you want to reset MFA? So if I discover that your account is compromised and I reset your password, disable your account, at that point, you are still able to access the services that you are on until you restart those services. That's when the password reset kicks in. Okay? If we do not reset your MFA, you can continue to do what you're doing. So, but once the MFA is reset, then it locks you out completely. So at this point, I will just check if there are any questions, or do we wait till the end of the presentation, sir?
We have some questions already.
Okay.
Firstly, the first one somebody asked, there was, can you check or share your sample briefing notes if you have an example that you can share with them? Then I have a question from my side. What type of alerts do you have in your kind of work that you do? I'm checking my notes. I'm not just looking on the site because I'm taking down notes. So the first one, is it possible you share a sample or your briefing notes?
It's not possible at this moment.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
We'll take it to the next one. Types of alerts. Can you just list them?
Types of alert: abnormal logging, rare RODP, that's rare remote desktop logon.
Okay.
Account created and deleted within 10 minutes. Log on to AD account, unusual log on to AD account. Another alert that comes in is an account has been added to an admin group. Then you can also get alerts where an admin account is conducting a network scan. Then you have the DDoS alerts coming in.
Okay.
Like I said, abnormal logon from abnormal location. Then you have phishing, obviously, the popular one. Phishing emails reported. So those phishing reporting of phishing emails account for close to 40 or 50% of the alerts that you get. Those are some of the alerts that comes to mind now, but there are more, and it depends on how the SIEM has been configured to monitor the environment. So
okay,
that's a good question, because as a SOC analyst, you're also in a position to suggest or recommend the creation of a rule to trigger alerts, So, and also you are in a position to recommend processes. I'll give you an example. Recently, we received an alert of an admin account at 8 p.m. conducting a scan on our environment at 8 p.m. So the SOC analyst that picked up the alert, investigated, looked at the account. Mind you, luckily, this was the red team. Who are the red team? These are the people that conduct security tests on your. When the team was not informed about the red teaming event, so the SOC analyst investigates this, found the account actually is a legit account and all that. Picked the phone on Teams, called the attacker, the red team. We've seen you conducting an AD scan, AD sweep. Is this you? Are you aware? The guy was like, yeah, I'm aware. So during the brief after the red teaming, this was actually an attack, a simulated attack. So what this now brought to light, I could know Mr. Said is got an ADM account, admin account, and is doing something at 8 p.m. They do not have a ticket to reference this task they are performing. Don't take it as is normal. No. So what this has brought to light during the debrief was, if I see Mr. Said doing something at 8 p.m. and I communicate with Mr. Said to ask for a ticket, if a ticket is provided, I'm going to respond by my email and copy Mr. Said's line manager or D-list to say, thanks, Mr. Said, for the communication earlier on and for providing a reference for your task that you're completing. We have now been made aware that you are completing an AD sweep at this time. So with that is a pair check to say, if Mr. Said's line manager is not aware of this sweep, or the entire team is not aware, they are going to quickly alert SOC that no. This is not legit. We are not aware. Then with that, you are able to quickly contain that attack. You see. So as a SOC analyst, you're also in a position to recommend review of processes.
I have a follow-on question to that, because for the audience, when you talk about admin account, admin means somebody that's in charge of a particular infrastructure in terms of creating users and all that. And there are some tasks that are not within their remit. This guy is sweeping the network, asking for information like that. Is it not within my remit to just block that account because he's doing it at 8 p.m. and I was not aware?
Yes, is within, that would be drastic because if they actually have a ticket for it, a service now ticket for it, that this task has been scheduled for 8 p.m., then if you block it without following the due process, then you'll be obstructing a legitimate task. And you know the bounce back that, like, why would you just take actions like that? Who did you check with? Who did you ask with? Did you check with your line manager? Why didn't you email? Yes.
Okay.
So
Okay. That is clear, but you have to understand that the context matters. In your organization, it might be okay to ask before you act, but in other parlance, they will say, do it before you ask. You understand what I'm saying?
you're very right. You're very right. You just described it is about the organization.
Exactly.
For some organization, maybe you are not expected to do such things after work
A
hours.
particular
And
time.
if they see it, they cut it off. You're right.
Okay. Another question, somebody, it keeps coming. They're asking, what type of certifications do you need to have to function properly as a SOC analyst?
Okay. First, you see, this certification business is okay. It gets you through to interview, but actually, knowing the process, knowing the steps as a SOC analyst to take. So I will answer that. You can start with CompTIA A plus security plus. Then you can go on to Microsoft SE200, which is basically engineered towards SOC analysts. And, as the same, I don't know if everyone is in Nigeria here, but, what works for you is what you recommend to people. I'm not selling anything, but I had all these certifications, right? I had all these certifications that that gave me just some ideas about what to do until I attended a course that was with Mr. Said with Prefor. The story is that I worked with a colleague who knew I had all this certification, and I told him about my plans. This is what I needed to do. I want to do. But he said, okay, but you're not doing anything with your certification. I was like, no, I haven't got experience. I don't think I'll be able to step in. He was like, okay. He just said it. He was like, okay, I'll introduce you to a colleague of mine. That's how I went to that training. Certification is good. Basic certifications. That's what you need. And training. This
Okay.
sort of presentation actually will also give you the confidence that you need practical information like this to get you started, and then you can follow up with certification. But certification gets you through interviews. When you get to the interview, you need practical trainings.
Okay. Next question. Can we take down these the information you're sharing to first, so that we take these questions?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll send it to you, sir.
Okay. And then if you stop sharing so that we can see your face properly, because people say when they see the face, they can communicate properly and understand the person they're speaking with. All right. The next one they asked there, we talked about certification. They now say, what type of skills do you need to have to function properly in this role? I think that's a great question.
It's a very great question, and to be honest with you, you have to be suspicious of everybody. Take it as a SOC analyst, is a zero trust. I won't go into that, but you are going into an environment to protect it. And as we all know, just as you're a SOC analyst, the hacker is also sees himself or herself hacking as a livelihood. So as a SOC analyst, you have to be curious. to succeed as a SOC analyst, it has to be your passion to want to work in the field, detailed in your investigation. You need to be methodological in your approach, pay attention to details, be willing to develop yourself continuously. Also, avail yourself of the opportunity to network, just as we're doing now, talk to people. So those are the basic, doesn't require special skills. Curiosity is basic in these things, continuous development, self-development, and keeping yourself abreast with the latest development.
Thank you very much. Those are very good skills that you've outlined out there. So it's not as if you are born as a genius before you can work within this industry. And then you mentioned something there that for you, you had these certifications, and then getting into the industry was a challenge, but you know somebody who now directed your path. So, and that's what we used to say, that if you know your destination, the journey is short. If you know how to get there, it's shorter. But if you have somebody taking you along, it becomes the shortest. That's what you mentioned there, and that's a practical example. There are two, you mentioned SIM 2 a lot in your presentation earlier on. I know there are some of them, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. What are these tools that you could recommend for as a team to SIM 2 for this role?
For anyone who wants to get ready, you can start with Splunk. CrowdStrike is very popular now. Microsoft EDRO is also popular. So these are the basic ones. If you're able to get yourself accustomed to how to use Splunk, CrowdStrike, Microsoft Defender, there are so many out there, but you just need to learn like 3 or 4. And I won't go into interviews, but if you find an advert and they always list what they need, what they work with, they'll tell you this is, they would love you to have a knowledge of these tools. So, they're out there, but the basic ones I would recommend is go for Splunk, go for CrowdStrike, EDRO, Akamine. Just get, those are the sort of tools that are out there at the moment. It's a wide market, as we all know.
All right. So basically, you're saying those are the popular one. Okay. Just because as a follow-on, somebody is asking again, what's the basic foundation to start SOC? What's the basic?
A basic foundation to start SOC is hard work.
Okay. Thank you very much. Then I have another one. This is technical. That's how I want to take it. Yeah. Somebody asked, he said, how do you get logs of IP address? I think the person is asking, what tool do you use to get logs of IP address?
Okay. There are also tools that are available. They call at the moment we use these SIM tools, right? Luckily enough, they are well developed now. So for CrowdStrike users, these logs are also there for you to use. For Sentinel users, you can query the network log from Sentinel using the right queries. So you can also query log files using Sentinel and CrowdStrike.
Okay. That's a very good answer to the question that was being asked. Looking at your presentation so far, you related your job role to like maybe the police, they are looking at what is happening within the community. So I want us to actually fill up that gap. The gap is, I've found something bad. Let's say I've discovered a vulnerability, a 0-day that's just been released, maybe perhaps by Microsoft. where does your tickets alert that you are creating, where does it go to? Where do you pass on that to? Is it just for me? I've seen it, and I'll just break the fire glass, boom, there's fire on the mountain. Or I have a way of passing it to somebody. Where do you pass it on to?
Okay. A 0-day has been flagged. You've been notified. First, you have to actually check that it's a 0-day. So don't break the fire alarm glass and everybody runs out of their bed. So you have to check, and if it's confirmed that it's a 0-day, first thing you do, your checks are documented. You raise a ticket, right, and you send an email to your team lead or contact your team lead who is on shift with you. Once this ticket has been raised, you have to, depending on how your organization is also set up, you have to contact the threat intelligence team, if you have one, and they will do further investigation. So while that is ongoing, the SOC team is also reaching out to various public sources, open source intelligence, gathering information of this 0-day. And what happens with 0-day? IP addresses are flagged, URL are flagged. So what do you do as a SOC analyst? During your investigation, you are sweeping your network using your tools to see if these 0-day indicators of compromise are already present in your network. If they are present, these are documented as well to immediately take remediation actions. So is SOC through to the threat intelligence team. So you are exchanging information. And once they come back to you, yeah, they've gathered this. SOC is also feeding back to them that we've done a sweep of our estate. We found, or we haven't found any of those indicators of those 0-day. From there on, then you take on the necessary action. If it's found, you take the necessary. If it's not, you then take the mitigation action, which is the easiest, blocking IP addresses, blocking URLs, blocking domains, and follow on like that.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, it's fantastic that you're able to walk us through to when you discover the alert, analyzing the alert, then what do? You are escalating it. And then during the escalation, you can also contain if possible because you don't want it to spread to other areas. Then after which you inform the person that needs to take an action in case maybe they need to like take over the system, because I want to use simple words here for people to understand what we are saying here. So once the system is taken over, there's what we call forensic analysis. I know SOC analysts may not be involved in that, but your work leads to what the forensic analyst will come to do. Have you been involved in a time whereby you have to create a copy of a system, or your work is just at identifying an alert, classifying the alert, and escalating it? Is it just there, or you take it up to doing forensic?
No, your duty as a SOC analyst is to receive the alert, and once you confirm it's an incident, you pass it on to forensic.
Thank you very much.
That's where because you're doing a lot. In a day, you could possibly be looking at 20 to 30 alerts you're looking at in details. So they won't be stretching you to look into the forensic. You escalate straight away.
Thank you very much. And then somebody's contributing. I'd like you to look at, somebody's calling him or herself GRC there. Person is making useful contribution. You can see what the person is typing there. So that's very good. That's what we say is a community. And do we have any other person with question as we are here today before we go to some other things? Any question from everyone here? Okay, if you don't have any further question, I just want to share with us on the screen what we have coming, because they've mentioned a lot about what we are doing and what led to today's program. I know some are surprised that, okay, what are they doing? yes, you'll be surprised at what is it that we're doing. Because some people they asked us, what is the role of this? What's the role of that? And that's why we're having these sessions, a day in the life of a particular role. So today we have talked about SOC analysis, and then we've talked about risk management, SME, which was by Tayo the other day. And now we are looking at this one. So just to inform you before we move on, that we have our events, our activities starting in January for the training. For those of you that are interested, you can take a copy, screenshot, get in touch later about this. And if you know somebody that is 50 and above, a lady, we have a program for them, which is starting 30th of October. And the inaugural lecture that day will be delivered by none other than the mayor of SOC in London, Councillor Naima Ali, who is the person that actually reached out that we should do this. So if you know anybody above this, share this with them. They need to register on Eventbrite. Tickets are quickly going. You have to tell them to do that quickly before it's closed. Another thing I want to mention is that if you are interested in having certificate in cybersecurity from ISC Squared, please just get in touch, because the first set of people, they're going to have some discounts. And if you go check out there now, some people are offering this training for about £500, some 400, like that. So we're looking at how to make it available to a lot of people at a discounted rate. So if you're interested, just get in touch. The number is still the same number here. Reach out, and then we can take it from there, and then talk about any other thing that you need to do to be part of that program, which is this CC, Certified in Cybersecurity. And I must caveat this, like Clifford has also mentioned, it's not about certification, but certification helps you to entrench whatever that you know, because you need to know how to secure the job too. You don't just say you want to have certification and that is enough for you. I have people here that it is on their job that they got their certifications that they have now. I don't want to mention their names because they did not ask me to do so, but I can give you examples that what we are saying, what Cliff said today, is the right thing. So we are not just saying it for saying purpose. We have been a victim of that waited until we have particular certification before we started. It's a long story. Long story short, it's not about certification. We have gone beyond that these days. It's about what you can do, because interviews are scenario based. They're not just, how many certifications do you have? Check. Can you do the job? Check. They'll tell you, tell me about a time that you have done X, Y, Z, like we were asking Clifford today. If you have this alert, what do you do? From what he's saying, they will gauge that you can actually do what you're saying. So you can have the whole certification in the world. You might not be able to secure the job. I know somebody with CISSP that expired. CISSP expired. And I said, what happened that it got expired? He said he cannot get a job. So imagine CISSP, and he cannot claim it back because it was not maintained. So please don't be a victim of that. If there's any other question, before we take final comments from Clifford, let's have it. Any other question? If you are not shy, you can raise up your hand. But if you are shy, type it in the chat box. We'll take it from there. Any question? Okay, no question from anyone. Okay, we have from Habas. Cliff, you have one from Habas. Habas, go on, please.
Yeah, sorry, it's not actually meant for Clifford. It's for you, Mr. Saeed.
Go on, sir.
Yeah, please. Is it something Prefort is looking into? Maybe like what Clifford just mentioned, like Splunk. Maybe we can, pull a few number of us together and give us like practical this thing. to have a Splunk experience, you know?
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Just if you know the number of people that are interested, because training is something, it's about number.
Yeah,
If you
that's
get the
why I
right
said that.
number, we can do it, because if you say for one person, it might be too expensive to
Yeah,
engage the
that's
facilitator
true.
and put your time into it. So if you get
Yeah.
the right number, we can actually do so, because we get people come to ask us specialized training for a particular need. But if you have the right number, if you can pull the group together, yes, it's easily done.
I'm very sure like 90% of us that's listening to Clifford today will be happy to have it.
Yeah, and I know Cliff is readily available from our interactions too. So
let's keep optimizing the community.
that is it. So Cliff is not the only one that is doing this actually, but just that is one that came up to say I can do it. So, and I can see Aziz here. Aziz is a protege of Clifford. He came to my training as well, and then he came, and after that, Cliff did some mentoring work with him. And today,
that was great.
Aziz, do you want to say one or two things?
Thank you, Clifford. Thanks for your time. We all enjoyed your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Aziz, do you want to say anything? I know you are close to Clifford. You really enjoyed him.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah, please go on.
Clifford has been a great mentor to me, especially while preparing for interviews. He gave me the time. Anytime I'm preparing for interview, I reach out to him, and he didn't hesitate to provide the necessary help. And thank God today I have a job that I can say is a contribution to that success. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Aziz. And then Aziz passed through our training as well before he went to Clifford. Not that he just jumped the hoop, so that Clifford will not be the one training him all the basic things that he needs to know. It is not that way. Because people will come to this kind of session, they'll tell me, can you give me this person's number? I want to start talking to that person. It is a stage. You need to pass through a particular level before you can go to them. And it's a community. And that's what I tell people. Once you come to us, we give you the pathway to that. Some people, it is very quick. I have somebody here who I call Miracle Lady. She's here too with us too. Some people, they'll just do one interview and that's it. Some, they have to make some attempts. It depends on you. So, James, let's get your own question.
Well, it's because I can see most people that are there asking, they want to get to speak with somebody. They have been on the training already. They've done it. They have the T-shirt. But I want to believe, I'm speaking for myself and some of us that are here. We've not even had the training. But we've been on 2 sessions now, and I know calling him now will yield nothing for me because I don't know where to start from.
Calling who? Me or him?
Ediberi.
Okay, calling him. Calling
Yes.
him is not the first step because
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
yeah, so that is it. So he's not calling him. That's mistake people make. We do mentoring, and I do say this to people: the mentee must be ready before mentoring could start, because if the mentee is not ready, what would the mentor him or her on? So that is why it is a process, and that's why I say to people: you can't just jump the hoop and say, "I want to go and have certification." Okay, certification, yes. Some people will attend somebody else's training and they'll come to me and say this. I say, well, we have our own process. You have not passed through that process. The person that trained you, you can go there, let them hold you on until you get your job. But I can't get the person again. Well, I can't do anything about that. You understand what I'm saying? So it is a process, and Clifford is a contributor to our training. It comes to even take a session. That's how it is. So it's the way it's structured. So people cannot just jump the hoops and say, okay, this guy trained me. I can't see the guy again. Can you hold my hand until you get the job? Oh, people that we've trained, we are the one taking them through this process. You have to go and meet the person that trained you. It is the way it works. So, okay, the next person is Lukman Bakari. Lukman Bakari. Yes. You are really audible. Can you be closer to your microphone? Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Better, please.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Clifford for sharing his experience and everything. And the fact that I love the fact that he mentioned that the SOC, there is a procedure for each company, which is very, very correct. Like the company I previously worked for, even internally, for example, when you configure a workstation, because every company has a standard for the naming convention of their workstation. Even as a support staff, when you configure a workstation, before you configure a workstation, you have to send mail to SOC. You have to tell them the name of the workstation, what you're going to name the workstation, and they have the standard. If you send the email to them and probably the name that the company set to the organization is like 18 numbers. If you exceed the numbers, I'm telling you, it's going to flag the SOC. And as soon as you join the workstation to domain, the NIC will be blocked immediately. You won't be able to do anything until you ring them. You have to send the email, and they will check for you, and they will tell you where the problem is coming from. They will ask you you have a wrong spell name on the workstation, then you have to correct it.
You are
After you
talking about
correct it,
asset management now, right?
yeah, asset management to SOC.
Okay.
Like we are bringing a new workstation to the unit. So when the naming convention is not correct, it's going to ring SOC. So they have different procedure. Every company have different procedure. So in my own company, so where I previously worked for, when you make any error of any workstation, so it will ring SOC. So you have to do proper arrangements by sending email. Then after you send email to them, and they will look into it. If this system is coming from the organization, the serial number and everything, then they will approve it. You will start the workstation again. The system will come up, and it's ready for the user to use.
Okay,
Yeah.
you know what you just painted to us there? That's why I specifically mentioned asset management. There is a naming convention. That's the first thing you mentioned.
Yeah.
You don't have to ring them if you have done the right thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But because to them, you have brought in a system that they don't understand. So
Yeah.
it looks like that network has been compromised. That's why the SOC.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just want people to get the scenario well, and that's why I'm trying to explain it that way. Because you have brought in something people don't know into the network. And that's why they have to alert you that what is this that you just brought in? And that is why you get to an organization, you get to the reception, they have a guest Wi-Fi. And if you go beyond there, you enter the organization. If your asset is not even, your own is even another way of configuring. In some organization, the system will not even connect. That is it. If it's not done properly, it will not connect because the
that's what I'm
asset
saying.
is not known.
Because you are trying to join, you are trying to
Join the
after the
domain.
configuration, join the domain, the security will block the NIC. You won't be able to join the domain.
Exactly. So that is what my brother here is saying, because that is the work of the asset management team. When they buy assets, they put all the serial number and everything, put them somewhere, you have to register it in the domain. And as you are plugging in the asset, is seeing it, the asset is seen as different from the human being using it, so that they can actually see the assets, whoever uses it. Maybe I logged in or he logged in, and they can see our activities on it. So thank you very much for your contribution. I'm looking at time. We've spent more than 1 hour. Any other question before we close the curtain? Cliff is back. If you have any question for him, we can take about 3 minutes. Any other question from anyone? Okay, no question. I want to take it that we also, he's not talking about a third-party machine. If you have a new person, somebody asked, and we realize asking that, is Lukman talking about a third-party machine? It could be, it's another scenario, but he's talking about if you have a newbie, somebody that is not familiar with your organization's process of asset configuration, and then he tried to connect such an asset after not following the right naming convention. So it will flag as a compromise in the network. That's what he's saying, basically. I hope that is clear. So this asset will be flagged.
Can I just quickly come in?
Yeah, come in.
Yeah, sorry, this is just from my own personal experience. I've worked as an ACCM lead before. So I want to believe in terms of AD joining in regards to host names, once the image is completed correctly, it should pick up a host name. So I'm trying to understand where it's coming from. So are you telling me you have an asset that belongs to the organization and it has a different name? I don't get this question. This is why I'm a little bit curious.
It's not a question, it's just a contribution.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a contribution to what Clifford mentioned about assets in terms of identifying an asset that looks like a compromise.
Okay.
Yeah, the scenario you mentioned is a good example. You can have a third party asset that maybe a contractor that wants to use his own assets, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to do something, as you know, you mentioned SSM there, which I'm familiar with. You have to make sure that asset, maybe you create a group in the AD that you can put such an asset, right?
Yeah, in such instances, we even have, like you said, guest Wi-Fi for them.
Exactly, guest Wi-Fi, like I mentioned before.
Yes,
but he's saying, in some organization, you have to know they are at different stages in terms of automation. Maybe in their own case, they've not gotten to that level that I have managed asset refresh before. Once you get the asset, you have the list in spreadsheets. All you just need to do is upload that into the AD. He knows them. And as you are making them ready, you connect them. It picks the name automatically, like you said, because he knows the serial number and everything. But some are not there yet. So that's what he's saying there, that you put a system that the network does not know, and it's being flagged like a compromise. You understand? So,
right. Thanks for
because
that.
it's in-house, it's not in the reception using guest Wi-Fi, and you plugged it. In some organization, your network port is already blocked. You cannot plug any. If you plug it, it will not work, and all that.
That's correct.
So exactly. So different organizations have their own controls in place, and that's what he's trying to say. It's just a contribution, not a question. I hope that really helped.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so thanks everybody. Like Habas mentioned, if you want a SOC training specifically, get in touch and we can put the group together and you can be trained and you get necessary training. And like he mentioned, certification is not the gold passport anymore. You can have CISSP and not get a job. So people, I'm just using as an example. So before, when I was in the banking sector, you see people, the people that we look at as our mentors, they could have like 6 or dozens of certifications. You just put like a chain, right? Then you'll be scared. When am I going to get to this level? So do not be like those people. You need to know what you're talking about. It is important. If you have not learned anything today, that you should know. There are people we are working with, they don't even have our own certification. A colleague of mine where I work now, where I have a contract with, he said the people he's working with, they don't even have half of his certificates, and they are his bosses. So we don't want to emphasize this too much because people will think it means something else. But it's just to give you a guide. You have to know before doing. I want to end it there. Thank you very much for listening. We'll let you know when we want to have the next episode of in activities in the life of a cybersecurity professional. So like I shared before, do not forget the PowerPoint that I shared. I'm sharing it again. If you want to register for our training, those are the dates there. Get in touch with the number. We can let you know how to go about registration. And specifically, because of this certification that ISC Squared is trying to give everybody to have opportunity, the training, we are about to finish the material that will train people on cyber security certification that is introduced by ISC Squared called Certified in Cybersecurity. So get in touch and we'll tell you what you need to do. You can Google it, you see how much people are charging for this training. We are ready to support the community to make it at a discount rate. So thank you all for listening. I really appreciate you all. See you next time when we have another episode. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.